We'll go ahead and call to order the meeting of the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners Saturday, May 16th in Reno, Nevada. Before we call order, let's do the pledge. Commissioner Lane, would you please lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Suzanne, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Chairman Drew.
Here.
Vice Chairman Wall.
Here.
Commissioner Bliss.
Here.
Commissioner Johnston.
Here.
Commissioner Lane. Here. Commissioner McNinch.
Here.
Commissioner Morai.
Here.
Commissioner Valentine.
Here.
And Commissioner Young.
Here. Okay, if we'd have the County Advisory Board members please rise and let us know who you're representing today.
Tom Casanelli, Humboldt County.
Roy Lytle, Lincoln.
Juliana Carson.
Vern Winder, Elko.
Sean Shea, Washoe. Ray Sawyer, White Pine.
Justin Rosich, White Pine.
Jim Evans, Eureka.
Troy Smith, Churchill.
Joe Cream, Persian.
Paul Dixon, Clark.
Great. Do we have any County Advisory Board members in either Las Vegas or Elko?
No, Chairman.
All right, with that, we'll close agenda item 15, move to agenda item 16, approval of agenda for possible action. The commission will review the agenda and may take action to approve the agenda. The commission may remove items from the agenda, continue items for consideration, or take items out of order. Any discussion on the agenda today? Seeing none, any County Advisory Board or public comment on the agenda in Reno? Las Vegas?
No comment in Las Vegas.
Elko?
Nothing in Elko.
Okay, I'll bring it back to the board. If there's no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and approved to, moved and seconded, to approve the agenda. Any discussion or question on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I'll close item 16, go to item 17, member items, announcements and correspondence, informational. Commissioners may present emergent items. No action may be taken by the commission. Any item requiring commission action may be scheduled on a future commission agenda. The commission will review and may discuss correspondence sent or received by the commission since the last regular meeting and may provide copies for the exhibit file. Any commission member items or announcements today? Commissioner Wallace?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had one item that kind of came to my attention. I had a couple of people ask me during the application process for the draw. The very first thing that pops up in front of you is the resource enhancement step. And I had a couple of people actually, one of them was a family member, said, hey, is this a required item? And I was just wondering, since that was new this year, that it kind of popped up as the very first item. If there were very many of those that were sold and the people only bought the resource enhancement stamp thinking that it was a separate line item or a requirement of putting in for the draw.
I see Mr. Septon coming up. Don, I don't know if you'll have information on that today, but if not, maybe something we can talk about during the state of the draw. But maybe if you had something, maybe come up to the mic.
By coincidence, this is Don Septon, Systems Consultants. By coincidence, we had a request for some marketing effort for the Dream Tag, and we were looking at people who'd purchased the RES who had not bought tickets. And I was surprised to see, and we had noticed it during the statistics that we produced throughout the course of the application period, that there was quite a few more people buying RES this year than last year and prior years, going back and all except year 2012 when we had the record number, and also had quite a few who bought it who didn't buy tickets. This year, what happened was there was a reading from the LCB, I guess, that we were not to sell tickets through the draw as we had in the previous 3 years. So 2012, 13, and 14, we sold tickets in the draw. You could do it right as you applied. The first year, 2012, the process was separated a little bit where you got the stamp, and then you bought the tickets. And we had more than 2,500 people who bought it the first year, 2012, that didn't buy tickets. Then the last 2 years, 13 and 14, it was coupled a little bit differently. And we had far less people buy it who didn't have also a concurrent purchase of tickets. This year, since no tickets were available at all, and we were still offering the stamp, there were quite a few. There are more than 5,000 people who bought it this year who did not buy tickets yet. And in total, it's more than 7,000 people who, I can give you an exact number if you need, but it's more than 7,000 people who have bought it. And 2,000 of those, 2,123 of those bought tickets, and 5,000 plus did not buy tickets, at least to this point. There will be a marketing effort, I guess, to send an email to the people who have not purchased tickets but have a stamp to see if they're interested in going the rest of the way. In the very first year when this happened, we had a couple of thousand, like 2,500. We had a suspicion that the reason why so many people did it is that there are states that have a similar sounding privilege. I think Wyoming is one. And we had the feeling that people may have thought that they had to buy it. That may very well be the case this year as well, that people may have been fooled into thinking that they had to have it. Did that answer the question? Would you like an exact number of the folks that
No, I didn't need an exact number. I was just curious if it was an increase, and
dramatic
obviously it was a
increase?
dramatic increase.
Yes. Last year, I want to say we sold like 4,700 or 48 stamps total. Through June 30, at this point, we've sold more than 7,200 through, only through May 14. And so we have seen a dramatic increase, and it's sneaking up on the number that we had in the very first year of 2012. Though the stamp sales are lagging behind about $75,000. Or excuse me, I said stamp, I mean ticket sales are lagging behind about $75,000 what they were last year. Taking it out of the draw process has dramatically reduced the sales then.
Well, it would be interesting to know how many of those people bought that. Had no idea that it was just a requirement for the dream tag, not necessarily a requirement.
Along those lines, we gotta be careful that we don't get into discussion on this matter, but maybe when we get to future items, it's something we could think about requesting specifically in the state of the draw update on a future agenda item, so we can discuss it a little more and get the numbers in front of us. I would imagine we'll have some updated information by then.
Yeah, we're gonna have end of year numbers basically as of June 30. And so we could do it before the state of the draw. If you need to separate it or want to address it as a separate issue, we can give you numbers before then if that would be helpful.
We'll discuss that on our future agenda item. Thank you, Don. Appreciate that. On the spot update. Other commission member items?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Bliss?
I'd just like to add to that I did have the same type of phone calls, and that is true that the last day of the draw was the busy time, because that's when my phone rang the most about that particular issue, and so glad it was brought up.
Additional commission member items? Seeing none, I think all the correspondence that I have gotten to this point will be related to future items here. So with that, I'll close item number 17. We'll go to item number 18, County Advisory Boards to Manage Wildlife. Member items, informational. CAB members may present emergent items. No action may be taken by the commission. Any item requiring commission action will be scheduled on a future commission agenda. County Advisory Boards. Come on up, Paul.
For the record, Paul Dixon, Chairman, Clark County. I got asked yesterday by the Heritage Committee about heritage tags, why the WIN organization did not apply. Turns out that Bill DeJunker's truck was broken into and all of the stuff was stolen. His briefcase with all the stuff was stolen. So he ended up faxing to Julie at Endow his stuff for you guys, and I guess it never got to you. But he had requested the same thing that they'd had in years past, just as a heads up to this team, so you guys know that he did put in a request, but it was faxed up to Julie at Endow. And that's why it wasn't as part of the original package, because his trailer was stolen before it got mailed in. And in the process, he forgot he had to do that. One of the things that was missing until late in the game, but he had faxed it up to Julie. So just a heads up to the Heritage Committee and others that does exist somewhere in the Endow system of Julie, his recommendation, okay?
Additional cab items? Seeing none, we'll move, close agenda item 18 and move to agenda item 19, Commission Regulation 15-12, 2015 big game quotas for the 2015-16 season. Wildlife Specialists Mike Cox and Cody Schroeder for possible action. Commission will establish regulations for the number of tags to be issued for mule deer, pronghorn antelope, elk, bighorn sheep, mountain goats, and black bears for the 2015 and 2016 seasons. Support material has been sent separately. So before we start the item, the support material that I'll point out, first of all, we have the big game status book, which again, Mike and Cody and staff, a lot of compliments on that, both from me personally as well as folks I've talked to. The document that we're going to be working from is the 2015 big game quota recommendations, CR 1512. And we're going to try working off the hard copy. If we have issues with that, we have an alternate to go to the screen. But I think we'll work from paper at least to start. There's extra copies, I believe, on the back table, Mike.
Yes.
And then we also have, the department has put together a nice list of all the County Wildlife Advisory Board quota recommendations here. Again, I appreciate the counties getting these in. I did have an opportunity to attend Mineral County. Because we moved this meeting back a week, they are actually celebrating Armed Forces Day down there and weren't able to send a representative, so I can discuss any comments that Mineral County had just as being present at their meeting, and I made them that commitment when we changed our day. So in that spirit, thanks to all our active duty and veterans out there. But with that, I think what we will do, Mike, is we will get started on resident antelope, horns longer than ears, any legal weapon hunt 2151. And again, counties, just because we have your recommendations in writing, please don't be shy about coming up and making sure we hear it too.
Thank you, Chairman. Mike Cox, Big Game Staff Biologist for Nevada Department of Wildlife. And again, also the County Advisory Board summaries are also at the back table along with the recommendations table, 29 pages. And it's front back, and I'll try to do my best to refer to which page we're on. And I just wanted to take a quick moment to remind everyone how we develop our big game quotas each year. So our biologists are collecting survey data on the herds, as many as we can by the air and others by ground. And the primary goal is to get the recruitment of the young. So we're looking at fawn ratios, calf ratios, lamb ratios. For pronghorn, elk, and mule deer, we attempt to get a male ratio that's in the fall or early winter. Some of those are biased, as we know, like our bull elk, they're biased low, so we don't use those bull ratios from our survey. And then that information is entered into a reconstructed population model where we're taking as consistent as possible survival rates that we've used in the past. Hopefully some of those are based on real data that we have here in Nevada, if not other projects that have been done throughout the West. the key to those reconstructive models is that recruitment of the young. And so from that model, we generate a population estimate for essentially the pre-hunt period of this year. So you could say it was August. So the estimates that you see in our status book, those are the projected estimates of the population of adults, yearling and older, prior to any of the hunting season starting this year. So in August of 2015, those are those numbers. For our quotas, within the model, we have males and females, we have the age structure of the population, and then we take the male and females from those models and we plug that into a quota array, and that array allows us to conform to the demand success formula that we've been using forever. And it's not mine, but I inherited it from Mike Hess, and I'm not in love with it, but as I always say, I can't find a better way to be equitable up front in trying to provide proportional quota recommendations by weapon class any better than that demand success process. And again, that demand success, real quick, takes the last year's demand, the first choice applicants plus any of the applicants that drew a tag regardless of their choice. That represents the demand for that hunt, for that weapon class, relative to another weapon class. So that's just the previous year's application rates. The success is a 3-year average for that weapon class, for that unit group. And then we basically just take the quota array generates how many dead bucks, dead bulls that we feel can be harvested within the various criteria that we use to set quotas. And then the demand success converts the animals, those males primarily, that are our harvestable surplus into tags with the demand success. For bucks, for pronghorn bucks, most of our quotas, in terms of a buck ratio, post-season buck ratio is based somewhere between high 20s to low 50s. It's pretty variable. Some of that depends on doe harvest, but we're typically in the mid to high 30s for post-season buck ratio pronghorn. And really that's taking into account yearling bucks. Yearling pronghorn bucks, for the most part, are not legal to be harvested in the normal hunt 2151. They only have probably a 5-inch horn. The horns have to be above the ears. So we're going to have a higher buck ratio because we can't harvest those yearlings like we can for mule deer, for example. Bull elk, we are actually probably, for many of our herds, post-season bull ratio of 70 to 90 bulls per 100 cows. And I think that's important to note. We're not scraping the bottom of the barrel. For bighorn sheep, our management plan asks us to, based on our model, based on our population models that we feel really comfortable with, the number of rams, the quotas is based on the number of rams in the model, 50% of the 6-year-old or older, or 8% of the total rams, whichever is lower. So that's the basis for our ram quotas. And then mule deer, we try to shoot for that $30 per 100 as best we can. But we do have some that are probably 35, maybe even close to 40. But we try to have most of them around 30. So that, I just wanted to give you an overview of, and we treat each year it's a different day. What happened last year was last year, but because of recruitment, potential impacts on survival rates, everything's different. So just wanted to remind everyone of that process. So with that, we'll jump into our first hunt on page 1, the pronghorn, horns longer than ears, hunt 2151, resident hunt. Just a couple alternative recommendations from the counties.
Okay. Before I open it up, are there any questions from the commission on Hunt 2151? I would just point out that on mineral, they talked about taking it back to 25. There was a fair amount of discussion on that, and I can't remember if the vote was split or not, but essentially they have kind of some patchy populations in that part of the world, and so the hunting pressure kind of gets concentrated on those areas, and that was kind of their reasoning for cutting back from 30 to 25, which is what it was last year. If there's no other questions from the commissioners, what I'll do is open it up. County Advisory Board comments on antelope, horns longer than ears, 2151. I know which two of you should be up here.
Joe Krim, Persian Cap. The department recommendations for that 041042 unit this year is for 75 tags. That's for an early season and a late. We'd like to see that reduced to 65, which is 3 below what last year's quota was of 68. And the reason being on that is, average over the state, our horn growth or horn length on that unit is lower than the average for the state. The state's average is 27% over 15 inches, where we're sitting at 26% for over 15. We just think that we have a lot of younger antelope bucks in there. We'd like to let them grow just a little bit. That's it.
Okay. Questions for Joe before I leave? Tom?
Tom Casanelli, Humboldt County. We'd like to see 031, 032, 034, and 035 reduced by 15%. We're in the middle of a pretty tough drought up in that area, and that was part of our reasoning, and the size of our antelope has been going down. Those are the two main reasons that we went for that.
Any questions? Let's open it up in Reno. Is there any other county advisory boards, just out of curiosity? There were no other alternate recommendations. Okay. Public comment in Reno? Public comment in Las Vegas?
No.
No public comment in Las Vegas, Chairman.
Okay. Elko?
No comment.
Right. I'll bring it back to the board. Mike, any thoughts from the department on the alternate recommendations that have been offered?
Nothing major. I will say that in the status book, for the first time, because of the horn length that we collect from the sportsmen, so I finally published a page that showed the trend of the horn length that's measured by our sportsmen, and statewide, we've been seeing a decline since 2010 in the percent of 15-inch horns or longer, and that's a trend that is pretty consistent across all the unit groups, and I do believe that drought is certainly having an impact on that horn length. I also know that we did reduce our buck ratio, postseason buck ratios on pronghorn a couple years ago. We may have been in the low 40s, and I think statewide we pressed many of our biologists to try to stay below 40. So that may have contributed to just a few fewer mature bucks being available over the years, but I do think overall the lower horn length, shorter horn length is drought related, not necessarily mature buck related, but we are seeing quite a bit of variability in buck ratios collected by our biologists. So, I don't have a problem with Pershing County. I would point out for Humboldt, 031, small sample size, but it had a postseason buck ratio of 54 bucks per 100 does, whereas the large unit group that got split out, 3.2, 3.4, 3.5, that only had 20 bucks per 100. So I certainly could support a lower tag quota in 3.2, 3.5, those units, but it seems like 031, seems like the bucks are there. Age structure, I couldn't swear by that they're good, but so that's what I would add.
Any other questions of the department? Okay, any discussion? Not, for a motion.
I'll take a crack at it.
Take a crack. Mr. Young?
I recommend we accept the recommendations on CR 1512, resident animal of horns longer than theirs, any legal weapon hunt, 2151, with the following changes. In 032, 034, and 035, reducing the recommendation numbers to by 15%, leaving 031 as recommended by Mr. Cox. I didn't do the math on it yet, Mike, but
I'll work on it.
Okay, and also in 041 and 042, reducing the tag recommendation quota from 75 to 65. I think that's got it.
And we had mineral.
And mineral, and mineral 205 from 208 recommendation is currently at 30, down to 25.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the department's recommendations with the following changes. 205 to 208 would be reduced to 25. 041 and 042 early and late would be reduced from 75 to 65. 031 would remain the same. Does anyone have the numbers for a 15% reduction on 032, 034?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
From 180 to 155 in 032 and 034, and from 90 to, you round up to a round number, 80 in 035.
Everyone clear on that motion? Question or discussions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Right, I think, Mike, what we will try is resident antelope, horns longer muzzleloader, and let's try and lump in archery at the same time.
Okay. All right, so there was no alternative recommendations for the muzzleloader hunt, and couple recommendations, one up, one down, for the archery buck hunt.
Okay, any questions of the department? County advisory boards?
On the archery, 2161, we have the same recommendation as to decrease those by 15%, all those tags across the board on all these. So I won't come back up.
You don't believe Mike though, Tom?
I do believe Mike.
On
I agree with it.
031?
I agree with that. That was a good motion. Thank you.
Joe?
Joe Krim, Persian Cab. Actually, I'm asking for the opposite this time. Last year's quota was 12 in the muzzleloader, in the archery. We'd just like to take that back to 12. It was projected to be lowered to 10, I think. We'd just like to take it back to 12.
Any other county advisory boards? Public comment in Reno? Public comment in Las Vegas on antelope horns longer?
No public comment, Chairman.
Elko?
No comment.
Bring it back to the board. Any discussion or questions? Mike, anything to add on the alternate recs?
No.
If there's no discussion, Commissioner McNinch?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve resident antelope horns longer than ears muzzleloader hunt 2171 as proposed by the department, and resident antelope horns longer than ears archery hunt 2161 with the following changes: 032, 034 to 51, 035 to 25, and 041, 042 to 12.
I'll second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to approve the muzzleloader hunt for horns longer 2171 as is, and archery hunt for horns longer 2161 with the following changes: 032, 034 would be reduced from 60 to 51, 035 would be reduced from 30 to 25, and 041, 042 would be raised from 10 to 12. Any discussion or questions on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right, page 3, middle of the page is our horn shorter than ears, antelope hunt 2181. One alternative recommendation is Persian County.
Okay. Questions or discussion by the board? Joe, you're gonna have to get a closer seat.
This is the last time. Once you get to elk, I'm quiet. Joe Krim, Persian Cab. Last year in that unit, they gave out 101 tags. I have no clue what the success rate on that was, but this year the department proposed 40. Well, we'd like to lower that to 25, which is 2% of the doe population in that unit.
Additional county advisory board comments? Public comment in Reno? Public comment in Las Vegas on horns shorter than the ears 2181?
No public comment, Chairman.
Elko?
No comment. Thank you.
We'll bring it back to the board. Just looking at the purging numbers on page A21 of the book, it looks like there was pretty healthy demand for that hunt on bet 4-1 on a 97% return interval. I think the success was 75%, which is second highest on the doe hunts, at least on this page. So, Mike, any thoughts, comments?
Well, I thought we were fairly compromising in reducing it to 40.
And it looks like you guys are taking a pretty big bite down from 40. Could you discuss kind of just the thoughts behind that? Are you seeing the results you wanted to, and so you're tailing back, or?
No, I mean, I think there's 1,800 pronghorn estimated there, so I still think we need to manage it in terms of numbers. If you'd like to increase it, that'd be great, but we're willing to accept 40.
Hey, I'll go with 40 instead of increasing it.
Okay, thoughts, questions, discussion by the board? If not, I entertain a motion on 2181.
Mr. Chairman, motion that we approve resident antelope horns shorter than ears illegal weapon hunt 2181 as proposed by the department.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve horns shorter than ears antelope 2181 as presented by the department. Are there any questions or discussion on that motion?
I have a question for the department.
Given the fact that we lowered the other tags, still the same, and it doesn't affect analysis of the doe tags.
At this point, I don't think it's worth getting into the weeds for every last tag. So, yeah, I think on this day, we do our best to accept those modifications that are social in nature and accept that for what it is.
I really didn't answer my question, but
Well, ask it again.
So, I hear comments about buck ratios, right? And we have tags allocated. We lowered the number of tags for the resident horns longer than ears. My only question in lowering that number of tags, does that have any influence on the number of tags for this hunt per Pershing County's request to lower it? With the horn shorter than ears hunt?
Well, in some of our herds, some of our hunts that we have a lot of female harvest, for example, the elk, when you take a huge bite in many of our elk herds, we're looking at 5 to 15% of our females we're trying to harvest. And that has a huge impact on the male ratio. And we take that into account. But for pronghorn, we're not necessarily worried about, with these changes, 15% one way or the other, that it's going to affect something in terms of reducing or increasing female harvest. So we're not too concerned about if our buck ratio floats up to 38 from 35, that's not a major issue.
Other questions or discussion? Joe, I understand where you're at. I think 40's fair. To be honest, I think there's some demand there. I think the success has been relatively good. I think the department has tailed that back, trying to stay within their objectives. So, I mean, I'm comfortable with it, but just to offer that on the record, my thoughts.
Well, you win some, you lose some, and I'm hoping this is my only loss.
Fair enough. Since he doesn't have elk, I'll take that. Any other discussion or question on the motion? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay, I follow the recommendation of the captain.
Okay, so motion carries 8-1 with Commissioner Johnston dissenting. We will move to page 4, right, Mike? Non-resident?
Yes.
Maybe we could take the non-resident, all three of them, in one fell swoop, or two of them.
I'll want to do our best to meet the 90-10 split, both by unit group and certainly statewide. So you may have to bear with me a bit to make sure that I try to meet that as best we can. So yes, on page 4 is the beginning of the non-resident hunts. First is the any legal weapon for horns longer than ears, hunt 2251. Page 5 is the archery non-resident hunt.
So by my math, 032 would go to 15, and 035 would go to 8. Right, 'cause so we had approved 155 and 80, right? Yeah. So 16 and 8. Okay, well, Mike's working on the numbers. I think everyone gets the flavor of where we're going with the 90-10 resident, non-resident split, but is there any comment in Reno on non-resident, horns longer than ears, hunt 2251, any legal weapon or 2261 archery hunts? Las Vegas?
No comments in Las Vegas, Chairman.
Okay, Elko?
No comment from Elko.
Okay. Mike, how are we looking on those?
Yeah, I'm looking at the archery. Because we don't have, for archery, every resident hunt doesn't have a companion non-resident hunt. We may end up just staying the course. And not making any modifications to the non-resident archery. We're at 9.8%. Or no, excuse me.
You're talking about the total numbers down below. And on any legal weapon, if we go to 16 and 8, does that get us where we need to be on our total?
I think so, and then, for 041, drop those to 7. Very late for 04142. And probably leave just 3 tags in 205 and 208. And that gives us 9.9% for the statewide non-resident split. Close enough. So again, that would be 16 and 8 for 032, 34, and 035. And for 041, 042, early, late, 7 and 7. And leaving the 3 for the non-resident, 205, 208. The archery, we're right at 10%. If we just leave the archery as it is with 7 for 3234 and 3 for 3035. And that would give us 10.0.
Okay, any other questions or discussion by the board? If not, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman. Recommend approval of non-resident ammo horns longer than ears of any legal weapon, not 2231, as recommended by the department with the following exceptions: 032 to 34, reducing from 20 to 16, 035, reducing from 10 to 8, 041, 042, early, reducing from 8 to 7, 041, 042, late, reducing from 8 to 7. Everything else remaining the same. Non-resident animal horns longer than ears, archery hunt 2261. I recommend leaving everything as proposed by the department.
So I have a motion and second on the antelope horns longer than ears archery hunt 2261 and antelope, non-resident antelope horns longer than ears hunt 2251. I'm not going to repeat all the numbers, I think it was pretty clear. So any question or discussion on that motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Great. One down.
Don't jinx it.
Big sassy already, isn't it?
So we're on page 6.
All right, hunt Desert Bighorn, Nelson, any ram. Hunt 3151.
I think the only change that I knew of was mineral, and they had talked about taking 202 and 204 down from 7 to 5. That was definitely a split vote. There was a lot of discussion. I think they felt the animals were definitely there. The folks that favored taking it down by 2 tags were more concerned with hunter congestion. I think especially right around Walker Lake. I'm thinking of the right unit, aren't I, Mike?
Well, we were, yes, Chairman Mike Cox. The unit does have the East Walker River area associated with it, and we actually got 2 rams harvested last year. So it's nice to see that people are going back into that East Walker River area and pursuing those rams. It's a small herd, so I did look through survey data, and you know, I think we're comfortable. If you wanted a reduction, there's no sword to fall on here, but I do believe that with people hunting in Unit 204, the East Walker River area, that there certainly would be less pressure in the main Cottonwood Canyon and other canyons associated with Walker Lake and the Wasatch.
Just based on the discussions I had, I almost thought it'd be fair just to split the difference right down the middle of 6, to be honest. Just based on, like I said, the discussion, the fact that the board was split, and that's just my personal opinion. Any other questions for Mike? Discussion by the board? County advisory boards? Anything on Bighorn sheep? Public comment? Public comment in Las Vegas?
No comment, Chairman.
Okay, Elko?
No comment.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the board. Okay, Commissioner Bliss?
I move to support the Nelson Desert Bighorn sheep, any ram, any legal weapon hunt unit 3151 as presented by the department with 1 change, unit 202 to 204 from 7 to 6.
I'll second that.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to approve the resident Nelson Bighorn sheep, any ram, any legal weapon hunt 3151 as presented by the department with 1 change in 202, 204, changing that from 7 tags to 6 tags. Any questions or discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. We will go to page 7. Resident Nelson Desert Bighorn sheep, any legal weapon hunt 3181. Mike?
Chairman Mike Cox, I actually wanted to say this before the hunt 3151, but in our status book, we have our population estimate for desert bighorn statewide is 9,600 deserts. It actually does not include any of the bighorn on DOD or DOE lands. And so we essentially have 10,000 desert bighorn sheep now in the state of Nevada. And I think we all should be very excited, very proud of that. But it does present some challenges. We've got herds that are reaching what we call the sustainable management level, or you might say bursting at the seams regarding water availability. So these 4 herds, we feel we need to continue to reduce those herds closer to their level that we feel, at least in the short term, until things change, drought situations or otherwise, that we need to continue to lower those populations.
Questions of the department on this one? County Advisory Board input on the desert NEU hunt 3181? Sean, come on up.
Sean Shea, Washington County. I just wanted to say we approved this, just to put it on the record, as read.
Any other county advisory boards in Reno? Public comment in Reno?
For the record, Jeff Turnip, CDM President of Nevada Bighorns Unlimited. NBU had issued a statement opposing the quotas set for 253 U-Hunt. And subsequent to that position statement, some pretty good information was put forth that made us retract that opposition. So while we encourage NDOW to use U-Hunts as a last resort, I think opposing these quotas is not the mechanism to do that. So I won't come back up to the podium for 068 U-Hunts, but it's the same situation where we issued a position statement opposing, then we issued another position statement retracting that opposition. So sorry for the confusion.
Mr. Turnip, can I ask you just a quick question?
Yeah.
Maybe a statement. And I guess I saw the position statement, and I've been a long supporter of your organization. I'll make no bones about that. I respect the hell out of what you guys do, but I did take exception to the implication that maybe somehow the biologist had recommended a quota without scientific justification. And maybe I read that wrong and maybe I didn't, but if that was the implication, maybe you could give us an opportunity to clear that up one way or the other.
Yeah, that was not what it was more of is a lack of communication on both parties. There's been sort of a communication breakdown over the last couple of years for various reasons, but we sort of had a come to Jesus meeting, and it's both parties are endeavoring to fix that.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification. Thank you, sir. Additional public comment, Reno? Seeing none, public comment in Las Vegas?
Thank you, Chairman. No comments in Las Vegas.
Elko?
No.
Okay, I'll bring it back to the board. Any other questions for the department or discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve the resident Nelson Desert Bighorn Sheep NEU illegal weapon hunt 3181 as presented by the department.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve hunt 3181 as presented. Any discussion or question on that motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now we'll move to non-resident Desert Bighorn Sheep Hunt 3251.
Thank you, Chairman. To try to break some of the tension, or maybe it was just me feeling it. We have opportunities to try to restore some herds and augment some herds, and as Jeff said, we haven't always been on the same page with information. on what we need to do to make those opportunities reality. So we just need to work closer together. Even with these quotas, there's ample source stock available for augmenting population, but we just need to make informed decisions. I am never going to give up, as long as I live in Nevada, of pursuing those opportunities to continue to restore Bighorn. But we just have to make more informed decisions and do our best that when we make a commitment to put sheep somewhere, that we have the best information that is going to say that that herd is going to be sustainable, and that we're not going to put it in peril or put it at risk. So we're not giving up. We're just trying to make more informed decisions. So thanks.
There's no tension today, Mike. That was yesterday. Let's do 3251.
All right, non-residents, 3251 Hunt. There's no alternative recommendation.
And no changes that we made. There was one on the wrong page. Yeah. Okay, no alternative recommendation. County Advisory Board or public comment, Reno, on 3251. Just do this one. You did 3181. So we're on non-resident Nelson, 3251. No public comment, Reno, Vegas.
Thank you, Chairman. No comments in Las Vegas.
Elko.
No comments in Elko.
Bring it back to the board. Any questions of the department or discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve non-resident Nelson Desert Bighorn Sheep, any ram, any legal weapon hunt 3251 as presented.
Second. Okay, any discussion on the motion to approve 3251 as presented? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And we'll move to page 8, I believe. Resident California Bighorn Sheep, any ram, any legal weapon hunt 150. Mike?
Yes, there was just one alternative recommendation for Cheap Creeks, 068 from Churchill County.
Questions of the department? County advisory boards? Churchill, did you want to discuss anything on your rec?
Smith, Churchill County. This was proposed by one of our members, and could be just a lack of understanding, but he was upset that there's proposed U hunt in 068, and his understanding, he couldn't understand why we're killing U's. We're going to reduce rams. It could be just a ram ratio issue, ram to U ratio, but his feeling was, why are we killing U's and reducing ram tags?
Chairman Mike Cox. So the population, we're estimating it around 110. And we've told ourselves that we'd like to try to be around 100 or a little bit less based on the forage conditions. And at the same time, we haven't seen stellar lamb recruitment. The 5-6 years ago, that would be the mature rams in that population. So regardless of, and I know it's connected, but regardless of the ewe harvest last year and this year, we're starting to see a slight reduction in the mature ram segment from the recruitment 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. So that's why we wanted to reduce it by a tag this year.
Additional county advisory boards. For public comment, Reno. Public comment, Las Vegas on Hunt 8151.
Thank you, Chairman. No comments in Las Vegas.
Elko.
No comment in Elko.
Okay, bring it back to the board. Any questions for Mike or further discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve resident California bighorn sheep, any lamb, any legal weapon hunt 8151, and resident California bighorn sheep, any legal weapon hunt 8181 as proposed by the department.
Okay, I'm gonna ask just to maintain the motion at 8151 since I didn't take the other out to public comment for right now.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you put them together.
Just to be
I
safe.
remove resident California bighorn sheep, any legal weapon 81 from that motion.
I'll second.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded to approve Hunt 8151 as presented by the department. Any question or discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, I think at Commissioner Young's suggestion, what we'll do is take 8181, which is California bighorn sheep, any legal weapon, and 8251, which is California bighorn sheep, any ram, any legal weapon, 8251. We'll take those two together because I don't think there's been alternate recommendations. Mike?
No, correct, Chairman.
Anything to add on either of those two hunts before we take it out to public?
You know, the 10 tag quota, again, we're looking to try to bring that herd down just a bit. And non-residents, it's a 10% split, so.
So we'll do any discussion or question by the board. Seeing none, County Advisory Board or public comment in Reno on hunts 8181, which is California NEU, or 8251, which is California any ram non-resident. Seeing none, Las Vegas.
Thank you, Chairman. No comments in Las Vegas.
Elko.
No comment in Elko.
Now bring it back to the board. If there's no further discussion or question, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, Chairman. Approve as recommended by the department. Any legal weapon hunt 8181, resident California bighorn sheep, NEU. Also, non-resident California bighorn sheep, any ram, any legal weapon hunt 8251 as recommended by the department. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve hunts 8181 and 8251 as presented by the department. Any discussion or question on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion for both hunts carries unanimously. We'll go to page 9. Resident Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, any ram, any legal weapon hunt 9151. And there were no alternative recommendations there, so Mike, why don't we also do resident mountain goat, any legal weapon hunt 7151. So we'll do both hunts on page 9.
All right. I was going to have Regional Supervisor Ken Gray give us some thoughts on Elko County's recommendation to go from 4 to 6 on the mountain goats for leased homeholds.
Yeah, Ken Gray, Part of Wildlife out of Elko. The East Humboldt Range, as everybody knows, experienced a die-off in 2010. It still struggles. We see extremely low kid production up there. However, all hunters report seeing a really strong segment of mature billies up there. We have an ongoing study up there where we have a minimum of 3 to 4 people on the mountain every day in the summertime. Also reported seeing a strong segment of billies up there. So it was, and Fern will probably get up here and tell you their rationale also, but they recommended going from 4 to 6 to tap into that. that billy segment, and we have no opposition to that. It actually makes sense to us, so.
Any questions of the department? Okay, seeing none. Mike, are you good?
Yes.
All right. So we'll bring it out, public or county advisory board comment on hunts 9151 or 7151. These are both the resident Rocky Mountain Bighorn sheep and mountain goat hunts.
For the record, Fern Winder, on hunt 7151, like Ken said, we'd been told there was a resident that come in and said he'd seen ample billies. Well, I just said it's ample billies, so we just said give the hunters a chance and take it up from 4 to 6. They said last year all 5 people got their billies up there and were nice billies as well.
Additional county advisory board comment on either of those 2 hunts? Seeing none. Public comment in Las Vegas?
Thank you, Chairman. No comments in Las Vegas.
Elko?
No comment in Elko.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the board. If there's no other questions or discussion, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve resident Rocky Mountain Bighorn sheep, any ram, any legal weapon, 9151 presented by the department, and approve resident mountain goat, any goat, any legal weapon, 7151 as presented by the department with the following change in unit group 101 that would be increased from 4 to 6.
Thanks. So I've got a motion and a second to approve hunt 9151 as presented and hunt 7151 as presented with one change for unit group 101 going from 4 to 6. Any question or discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And we're making good headway, and now we're going to start making our real money because things get complicated. But before we do that, let's take a 20-minute break. We'll come back at 10 o'clock. We'll be on recess until then. We'll pick up with agenda item 19 on page 10 of the report material on resident elk depredation hunt 4102.